At the beginning of the film, we see several doctors performing surgery on a patient suffering from heart disease. However, the operation, led by a doctor named Murphy, does not go well. A while later, Murphy is seen asking his colleague, Matthew, about the type of watch he is wearing. Murphy seems interested in his friend's watch. In the afternoon, Murphy approaches a boy named Martin at a fast food restaurant. Murphy actually wants to invite Martin for a walk, but since Martin hasn't eaten yet, he allows him to have a meal first. It is revealed that Martin has a rare condition that makes him talk excessively, often annoying people who are unaware of his condition. Because Murphy considers Martin like his own son, he gives him a wristwatch identical to the one Matthew wears. That night, Murphy is seen having dinner with his beloved wife, Anna, and their two children, Bob and Kim. Anna, it turns out, is also a doctor, an ophthalmologist who runs a clinic in the city center. Noticing Bob's long hair, Murphy tells his son to get it trimmed. 6 hours later, just as Murphy is about to begin surgery on a patient, Martin approaches him to show that he has modified the watch Murphy gave him, replacing the strap with leather to make it look more elegant. Annoyed at being constantly interrupted, Murphy tells Martin to go home and call him if he wants to meet. After leaving the hospital, Murphy listens to Kim practicing for an upcoming school performance. Later, at a prestigious event, Murphy, a renowned cardiologist, expresses his happiness in being able to help many people, as most of his patients survive their surgeries. As the days pass, a conversation between Martin and Murphy reveals that Martin is actually the son of the man who underwent heart surgery at the beginning of the film. Feeling sorry for Martin, who has to support his mother after she was fired, Murphy often invites him to hang out and gives him gifts. Before parting, Murphy invites Martin to his home. Without hesitation, Martin arrives at Murphy's house, bringing gifts for Murphy's wife and children. Anna and the rest of the family warmly welcome Martin. Upon hearing Martin's story, Anna is impressed by him. The same goes for Kim and Bob, who are listening attentively. Kim, who keeps glancing at Martin, appears to have taken a liking to him at first sight. Meanwhile, Bob, curious about Martin's armpit hair, suddenly asks him to show it. To everyone's surprise, Bob comments that Martin's armpit hair is still thin and jokingly states that their father, Murphy, has armpit and chest hair 3 times thicker than Martin's. Not long after, a bored Martin invites Kim for a short walk around the house. Later, as Murphy is about to fall asleep, he suddenly receives a call from Martin, asking him to come over as a token of appreciation for how warmly Murphy and his family welcomed him earlier. Sometime later, Murphy grants Martin's request and visits his house. After chatting aimlessly for a while, Murphy prepares to leave, but Martin insists he stay and watch his favorite movie first. As the movie plays, Martin starts feeling sleepy and asks to go to bed early. Unexpectedly, after Martin leaves, his mother, Alicia, begins seducing Murphy, inviting him to sleep with her. However, Murphy, remembering his wife and children, immediately rejects her and chooses to leave instead. The next day, Martin unexpectedly shows up in Murphy's office, claiming he has been struggling to breathe lately due to excessive smoking. Although a bit suspicious, Murphy still decides to offer him some health recommendations. Afterward, Martin once again annoys Murphy by asking him to show his armpit and body hair. Feeling guilty about Martin's father's death, Murphy reluctantly complies with the strange request. Martin's odd behavior doesn't stop there. He continues to call Murphy almost 100 times a day and waits for him at the restaurant where they usually meet. Finding this behavior excessive, Murphy firmly tells Martin to stop interfering in his life. However, Martin takes things even further by showing up at the hospital where Murphy works. Matthew later informs Murphy that Martin had been there earlier in the morning just to look for him. That night, Kim mentions that Martin had just given her a ride home on a motorcycle borrowed from a friend. However, instead of going inside, Martin inexplicably decides to wait outside until Murphy and his family go to bed. Skipping ahead to the next morning, Murphy, not seeing Bob, goes to his room to wake him up for school. To his shock, he finds Bob sitting motionless, unable to move his legs. They have suddenly become completely paralyzed. Panicked, Murphy and Anna rush Bob to the hospital for a medical examination. Strangely, despite thorough testing, the neurologist finds no signs of illness in Bob's body. Convinced that Bob is just exhausted, Murphy assumes it's nothing serious. However, just as Bob regains the ability to walk and prepares to leave, he suddenly becomes paralyzed again, leaving Anna in distress. They re-examine Bob, yet once again, the doctors find no explanation. His body appears completely healthy. On the other hand, Kim is seen riding a motorcycle with Martin, clearly showing how much she likes him because of his kindness toward her. The next day, as Murphy and Anna prepare to check on Bob, Martin, who heard about Bob's condition from Kim, suddenly appears in Bob's hospital room. There, Martin forces Murphy to talk to him for a moment. It is then revealed that Bob's mysterious illness is actually Martin's doing. Somehow, Martin has inflicted Bob with a rare condition, one that no hospital, no matter how skilled the doctors, will ever be able to diagnose. Martin did this out of revenge, blaming Murphy for his father's death during surgery and for rejecting his mother. Realizing that both of his children are at risk of suffering the same fate, Murphy immediately kicks Martin out. Later, knowing that Bob has not eaten all day, Murphy forcefully urges him to eat. Seeing this, Anna, unaware of the true situation, tells Murphy to stay calm, believing that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, while Murphy and Anna are away visiting Bob, Kim invites Martin over to their house. In the middle of their conversation, Kim, overwhelmed by desire, tries to seduce Martin and invites him to be intimate with her. However, despite Kim exposing herself to him, Martin unexpectedly decides to leave her behind. As Bob's condition worsens, Murphy, Anna, and the hospital staff hold an emergency meeting. Despite conducting multiple tests, they still fail to identify Bob's illness. Shockingly, Bob has gone 3 days without eating, claiming that he never feels hungry. Frustrated, Murphy desperately tries to force Bob to walk, but Bob falls again, unable to move his legs. He confesses that he doesn't understand what's happening. Everything was normal before, but when he woke up, he suddenly couldn't move. One day, while Kim is practicing singing at school, she suddenly collapses and becomes completely paralyzed, just like Bob. The incident devastates Anna and Murphy, as now both of their children are suffering from the same mysterious illness. Desperate, Murphy storms over to Martin's house, pounding on the door and demanding that he come out. Murphy promises to do whatever Martin asks, anything to cure his children. That night, Murphy finally confesses everything to Anna, revealing that their children's condition is Martin's revenge for his father's failed surgery. Murphy suggests reporting Martin to the police, but Anna refuses, arguing that they have no evidence. Murphy is left with no choice but to find another way to save their children. 6 hours later, unaware of Martin's role in her condition, Kim answers a call from him. Martin tells her to stand up and walk to the window. Shockingly, the moment Kim follows his instructions, she is able to walk again, almost as if Martin is controlling her body. However, when Bob tries to do the same, he suddenly collapses, unable to walk like Kim. After witnessing this, Anna orders both of her children to cut off all contact with Martin, realizing that he is the one responsible for their strange illness. Realizing that Kim and Bob's condition is worsening, Murphy informs Anna that some of the best doctors from abroad will arrive at the hospital that day to examine both children. After returning from the hospital, Anna decides to visit Martin's home, hoping to get information on how to cure her children. However, instead of answering, Martin insults Anna and falsely accuses Murphy of constantly flirting with his mother. Recognizing Martin's lies, Anna quickly leaves the house. That night, despite the presence of top medical experts examining Bob and Kim, none of them can identify any illness affecting the two children. This only deepens Murphy and Anna's fear. Desperate for answers, Anna turns to Matthew, demanding the truth about why Martin harbors such hatred for Murphy. It is then revealed that Murphy had performed surgery on Martin's father while under the influence of alcohol. Later, Anna is awakened by Murphy, who leads her down to the basement. There she discovers that Murphy had secretly kidnapped and tortured Martin the previous night. Enraged by Martin's arrogance and accusations, Murphy violently beats him again. However, Martin, seizing an opportunity, bites Murphy's hand, causing it to bleed. To even the score, Martin shockingly bites his own hand as well. Shortly after, Murphy contemplates shooting Martin on the spot, but Anna intervenes, pointing out that if they kill Martin, their children might die too. Understanding the risk, they decide not to kill him, but instead keep him imprisoned until their children recover. Meanwhile, Bob suddenly gets up from his bed, grabs a pair of scissors and cuts his own hair. He then approaches Murphy, who is sitting alone in the kitchen, lost in thought. After days of reflection, Murphy finally realizes that Martin simply wants one member of their family to die as compensation for his father's death. Determined to make a choice, Murphy visits the headmaster of his children's school, asking who is the better student between Bob and Kim. Sensing something unsettling about Murphy's question, the headmaster refuses to answer. At the same time, Anna takes Kim and Bob to see Martin, tending to his wounds. In a shocking display of desperation, Anna kneels before Martin, kissing his feet and begging him to put an end to everything. Later, Kim, driven by her love for Martin, sneaks into his room and attempts to free him. She pleads with Martin to cure her, promising that if he does, she will follow him anywhere and worship him like a god. Not long after, Anna and Murphy realize that Kim is missing. Panicked, they search for her in Martin's room, but find only Martin inside. Rushing outside, they eventually find Kim crawling in someone else's yard. The next morning, Murphy discovers that Anna has secretly freed Martin. Furious, he lashes out at her. In the middle of their heated argument, they are interrupted by Kim's screams. Bob's eyes have suddenly started bleeding. Having reached his breaking point, Murphy, now completely desperate, ties up Anna and his children in the middle of their house. There, he resolves to kill one of them at random. After several attempts, he finally fires a shot, killing Bob. In a shocking twist, not long after Bob's death, Anna, Murphy and Kim are seen at a restaurant waiting for Martin. When Martin arrives, the three of them glare at him with cold, bitter expressions. It is in this moment that we realize, through Murphy's brutal sacrifice, everyone else has been cured. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.